What's up, baseball fans? So with the documentary that aired on ESPN the other night, Long Gone Summer, which was about Mark McGwire's and Sammy Sosa's home run chase in 1998, I wanted to talk today about the 1998 season because there was a lot that happened that year. And a quick little story about me: in August of 1997, I moved from England to Massachusetts, and in 1998, that was really when I first became a big baseball fan. Of course, the home run chase is kind of what grabbed me because that's what everyone talked about that year, but looking back at the 1998 season, in all honesty, it could be the best season of all time. So for my video today, I'm going to list my top 10 events that happened in the 1998 season that does not include the home run chase. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. Coming in at number 10, I have Alex Rodriguez joining the 40-40 club. Let's start off this list with some history, as Alex Rodriguez in 1998 was one of 3 players at the time to be able to enter the 40-40 club, which is when you hit at least 40 homers and steal 40 bases. Only Barry Bonds and Jose Canseco at the time were in the club, and eventually Alfonso Soriano entered the club in 2006, but to be able to enter this club is extremely difficult because not only do you need to be a power hitter, but you got to have speed too, a combo you don't ever really see. In 1998, A-Rod had a really good season, hitting .310 with 42 homers, 124 RBIs, and 46 stolen bases, which produced an 8.5 wins above replacement according to Baseball Reference. What's crazy is that he finished 9th in the MVP voting in 98. 9th! Coming in at number 9, I have Randy Johnson being traded to the Houston Astros. The trade of Randy Johnson from the Seattle Mariners to the Houston Astros in 98 was a huge deal at the time and ended up helping out the Mariners big time eventually. Heading into 1998, after winning the AL West in 97, expectations were high for the Mariners as they had a team that featured guys like Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez, and Edgar Martinez. However, the team underperformed in the first half of the season, and with Johnson unlikely to re-sign in the offseason, along with Houston wanting to make a playoff push that year, the Mariners unloaded him to Houston for younger players Freddie Garcia, Carlos Guillen, and John Halama. Johnson ended up being phenomenal for the Astros, going 10-1 with a 1.28 ERA. The Astros won the division, but ultimately they fell to the eventual National League champion San Diego Padres in the division round. On the other hand, the 3 players the Mariners received, Freddie Garcia, Carlos Guillen, and John Halama, ended up becoming valuable players for Seattle, especially Freddie Garcia, who finished 3rd in the Cy Young voting in 2001 when the Mariners won a record 116 games. Coming in at number 8, I have Mike Piazza being traded to the Marlins and the Mets. With Piazza frustrated with his contract negotiations with the Dodgers along with his upcoming free agency, the Dodgers traded him to the Marlins for Gary Sheffield, Bobby Bonilla, Charles Johnson, Jim Eisenreich, and Manuel Barrios. What was crazy about this trade was that the Marlins had no intentions of keeping Piazza, who were in the midst of a fire sale after winning the World Series because they couldn't afford to keep the team together. So after Piazza played 5 games, yes, 5 games with the Marlins, he was traded once again to the Mets, who he did indeed stay with until 2005. The Mets would end up making it to the NLCS in 1999 and the World Series in 2000, which they eventually lost to the Yankees in 5 games. In 2001, after the World Trade Center terrorist attacks, Piazza would hit one of the most memorable home runs of all time, a go-ahead 2-run homer in the 8th inning in the first game back in New York City 10 days after the attacks. At number 7, Brian Cashman becomes the New York Yankees general manager. This is one that gets forgotten a bit since Cashman has been the Yankees GM for what feels like forever. But yes, Brian Cashman officially became the Yankees general manager in February of 1998 and was the second youngest general manager in MLB history. The Yankees went on to win the next 3 World Series in 98, 99, and 2000. During his tenure with the Yankees, he's made some key moves, acquiring Roger Clemens in exchange for David Wells, who also ended up coming back to New York a few years later, El Duque Orlando Hernandez from Cuba in 1998, Alfonso Soriano, who was playing in Japan before bringing him over, David Justice in 2000, who went on to become the ALCS MVP that year, Hideki Matsui in 2003, as well as A-Rod in 2004 after the trade to the Red Sox was shut down. He also brought in key guys like Mark Teixeira, CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, and Nick Swisher in 2009 that ended up helping the team win the World Series that year. There was also trading for Giancarlo Stanton and his massive contract from the Marlins after the 2017 season. And this past offseason, he signed Garrett Cole to a record contract. Brian Cashman has easily been one of the most successful general managers of all time. Coming in at number 6, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays have their first seasons. Forgotten from the 1998 season were the debuts of the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, who are now called the Rays today. The Diamondbacks would go on to lose 97 games that year under Buck Showalter, and the Devil Rays, who had Wade Boggs on the team, would lose 99 games. The Diamondbacks would find themselves in the World Series just 3 years later, and the Devil Rays never made the playoffs from 98 to 2007, but the Rays did in 2008, marking their first playoff appearance in franchise history, in which they also went to the World Series but eventually lost to the Phillies. Coming in at number 5, David Wells throws a perfect game. In a game that only took 2 hours and 40 minutes to complete, and on Beanie Baby Day at Yankee Stadium of all days, David Wells threw the 15th perfect game. He struck out 11 Minnesota Twins in a dominant performance, and he did it with a hangover after a night of drinking. That year, David Wells had one of his best years, going 18-4 with a 3.49 ERA and a career-best 1.045 whip. He was eventually traded to the Toronto Blue Jays for Roger Clemens. At number 4, Cal Ripken Jr. ends the streak. When Cal Ripken Jr. broke Lou Gehrig's consecutive games played record in 1995, reaching 2,131 games, it was one of the most incredible moments in sports history. However, good things always come to an end, and on September 20th, 1998, Cal Ripken Jr. took himself out of the game, which ended his streak at 2,632 games. Cal Ripken Jr. would go on to play 3 more seasons before retiring in 2001, finishing with a career average of 276 and 431 home runs, along with ranking 8th all-time in games played with 3,001. Coming in at number 3, Kerry Wood strikes out 20 batters. There's a wide crop of people out there that consider this to be the most spectacular pitching performance of all time. Even though others have struck out 20 in a game like Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, and Max Scherzer, Kerry Wood was the only one to do it while not allowing a run. The only flaws in this performance was hitting Craig Biggio, who ranks 2nd of all time in hits by pitches, and he only gave up 1 hit that probably should have been ruled an error. This was also against a really good Astros team that won 102 games and the NL Central with players like Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell, and Moises Alou. This game earned a game score of 105, a formula that measures a pitcher's performance that was introduced by Bill James in the 1980s and was upgraded by Tom Tango in 2014. As of today, it is still the highest game score ever recorded. Coming in at number 2, Bud Selig officially becomes Major League Baseball commissioner. While some criticize Bud Selig as commissioner of Major League Baseball because of canceling the 1994 World Series, the strike, and the steroid scandal, he did make quite a few moves that changed baseball for the better. Under Selig, 2 teams were added to the major leagues, the Diamondbacks and Devil Rays. He also introduced interleague play, 3 division formats in both the AL and NL. There was also the addition of the wild card and eventually a second wild card team in each league. He also helped open 19 new stadiums as well as helped design the World Baseball Classic. Last but not least, while it did take pressure from Congress, he introduced a stricter drug testing policy that introduced 50 to 100 game suspensions to even lifetime bans. And coming in at number 1, the New York Yankees win the 1998 World Series. It's incredible that this Yankees team isn't talked about more. This team was off the charts good. They won 114 games, which was a record at the time, and they basically dominated the postseason, only losing twice. The 98 Yankees featured the core 4, Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, and Mariano Rivera, all of whom were drafted or signed as an amateur by the Yankees, along with other really solid players like Bernie Williams, Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez, David Cone, El Duque, Orlando Hernandez, and Scott Brocious. That year, the Yankees led the majors in runs with 965 and ranked 6th in ERA with a 3.82. Though the Yankees did win the World Series in '96, this was the true beginning of a dynasty, as they would go on to win the World Series again in 1999 and 2000, along with winning the AL pennant again in 2001. The Oakland Athletics are the only other team to be able to win 3 World Series in a row in 1972, 1973, and 1974, and no other team since these these Yankees have been able to win back-to-back World Series. This team was one of the greatest of all time. So those are my favorite moments from the 1998 season. Tell me down below in the comments what were your favorite moments. That's all I got for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.